De Beers, the market power that withstood the test of time. Did you ever wonder where the idea that a person should spend 3 months of their annual income on an engagement ring came from? In 2019, the median earning for men in the United States was $57,456, which equates to a whopping $14,364 engagement ring. This is a big number, considering how far it could go covering other expenses. So, who came up with this number? And is it still relevant today? A quick history lesson will reveal that wedding rings date all the way back to the time of the Romans, where wives would wear rings attached to small keys, indicating their husband's ownership. It wasn't until 1477 that the Archduke Maximilian of Austria presented the very first diamond engagement ring to his bride-to-be, Mary of Burgundy, which started the practice amongst the higher social class and those with substantial wealth. In 1866, diamond mines were discovered in South Africa, leading to over 1 million carats being mined per year. The supply of diamonds skyrocketed, which lowered the price and allowed common people to afford it, paving the way for the universal practice of the engagement ring. With this notion in mind, the De Beers Diamond Company launched an ad campaign in the 1930s that we all have heard of. A diamond is forever. This was during the Great Depression, where diamond sales were declining. In the midst of this economic chaos, Harry Oppenheimer, the De Beers founder's son, came up with an ingenious strategy that would change how the world saw diamonds. The brilliance behind Harry's strategy was not only rebranding the De Beers company, but he sold the world on an idea. The idea that the durability of a diamond conveyed the meaning that marriage is forever, and the purity and sparkle symbolizes the depth of a man's commitment to the woman he loves. This idea took marketing to an entirely new level as it took roots and embedded itself into the fabric of society as we know it today. Pop culture exploded with diamond engagement rings being synonymous with romance, as celebrities flaunted their rings in the media from movies, photography, radio, and magazines. Although love may be priceless, there is, however, a price on diamonds. De Beers took the world by storm, and when their marketing campaign, A Diamond is Forever, first launched, the engagement ring only started with 1 month's salary. That's right, the number started off as just 1 month of a person's pre-tax salary. With the success of this campaign, De Beers was able to pull itself out of the slump of the Great Depression, and their diamond sales increased by 50% in just 3 years. By the 1980s, it became the industry standard for a man to spend 2 months' salary. Fast forward to today's time, and the rule has jumped yet again to 3 months' salary. You're probably thinking where these jumps came from and what's preventing the industry from increasing the rule again up to 4 months. De Beers launched another aggressive marketing campaign in the 1980s, and with the new 2 months salary rule, they connected the amount of money a man was willing to spend to the worth of his relationship. Their tactical marketing focused on persuading young men that only diamonds were synonymous with romance, and young women that courtship concluded in a diamond. De Beers' 2 most infamous marketing lines were, 2 months' salary showed the future Mrs. Smith what the future would be like, and how can you make 2 months' salary last forever? From a man's perspective, he wants to make his bride-to-be feel special and show her that she is the one. From a woman's perspective, she wants to feel special and know that she is someone worthy in her partner's eyes. If the new industry standard is 2 months' salary, both parties will expect this as a true tell sign that their relationship is commendable enough to adhere to this rule. Keeping in mind that girls love to compare and boys hate to be outdone, a tradition was established. And once a tradition is established, it's a lot easier to slap a price tag on, which eventually led to today's 3-month salary rule. What does this mean for someone looking to buy an engagement ring today? And do people really stick to this rule? Even though De Beers marketing campaign took place almost 100 years ago, the idea itself is still relevant today. Prior to the 1930s, only 10% of engagement rings contained diamonds, compared to an astonishing 85 to 90% today. Here are some real numbers to put things into perspective. The average age a man gets married is 29 years old in the US, and from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual salary of men 25 to 34 years old is $46,436. This equates to an $11,609 engagement ring if that man were to adhere to the 3-month salary rule. However, according to the Knot's 2019 Jewelry and Engagement Study, the national average spent on engagement rings in the US stands at $5,900. There is also a trend of spending less on engagement rings, as this number is down from $6,351 in 2017. This means consumers are only adhering to half of the 3-month rule, so 1.5 months of their annual salaries. Even though the idea of what a diamond engagement ring represents is still very much alive today, the numbers have decreased to about 50%. Obviously, life is a lot different than it was in the 1930s, and perhaps the complexity of modern-day life has shifted the importance of the cost of an engagement ring. This doesn't mean the significance of what an engagement ring represents has changed, but today's trends point to the consumer realizing that 3 months' salary can be better spent on expenses that can benefit their relationship and get more bang for their buck. After all, we have a lot more products and options available to us today than we did 100 years ago. Is there a more practical rule to adhere to that has more reasoning behind it other than an arbitrary number? Yes, there is a rule known as the car rule, which subjects the man's spending habits directly to that of the ring. Most men like cars and tend to overspend on it. So the car rule states that the man should spend a close amount on the ring as he does on his car. The logic behind this rule is if the man is willing to grossly overspend on his car in relation to his income, say he makes $70,000 a year, but buys a $40,000 car, then he should also be willing to grossly overspend on the engagement ring. Why? Because if he is willing to overspend on shiny materialistic things on himself, then he should be willing to overspend on shiny materialistic things on his bride-to-be. In this example, the man spent 57% of his gross income on his car. The beauty behind this rule is it also works the other way around. Say the man isn't materialistic and drives an $8,000 used car, but he makes $200,000 a year, so 4% of his gross income. In this case, he should be expected to spend significantly less on the engagement ring relative to his income. This rule makes it objectively more fair on both parties and subjects the dollar amount spent to the spending habits of the individual. It would seem like the 3-month salary rule is slowly going out the window. With today's fast-paced lifestyle due to advancements in technology, consumers may be placing different values on engagement rings than they once did. Sharing more experiences together, such as vacations, traveling, or even just spending more time at home together, is becoming more important. The demands of modern-day life have changed current trends, which in turn shapes the consumers. What are your opinions? Would you spend 3 months of your salary on an engagement ring or expect your partner to? If you don't agree with quantifying love to a strict and rigid dollar amount, then how should love be expressed? Leave your thoughts and comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.